photos. This house.
Yeah, they're all
of this house. Yeah, they're not just photos, they're of this house.
Yeah.
Like in the room.
Like one of those
Like
people
upstairs
actually
in the
died.
bunk room. Upstairs in the bunk room, if you look at the photo on the wall, I'm like, wow, they're in this room.
Like me.
Like he hired me. I mean, it could have been CGI, I guess.
Oh, no, no, they definitely gave it here. Those people are so used to it. They might actually just normally look like that.
You buy a bunch of GG, hey, can I hire you?
Actors?
Yeah.
Are they to the library, to the black?
What's the person still on?
Chilwanian? No, that's blind day. That's blind.
We saw, this is a full on, car chase, like police car chase,
yeah.
coming down like a farm road.
Pulled off the highway and
Yeah.
there's a truck coming straight at me. I was like, in the wrong lane. And then behind him, a cop's like.
It's just like a hillbilly truck, using like black diesel gas
That's
coming
dust
up.
coming out. Driving like a soul.
Like, did it have a Confederate flag on the back of it? Like, I'm not 100%.
I wasn't sure. Happy with her.
You can convince me that it was.
I think the black diesel exhaust.
So what would happen?
Technically, I have 2 days left.
When you said you went back on, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
Technically, I have 2 days left, and in my head, I'm just like, vegetables and chicken is what I don't need to.
Okay.
So,
Just kind of.
I have a bag of hard boiled eggs.
Visualize that daily, you know, and.
And-
I think that
And
would
then
help.
it's
but
like,
if not-
it's definitely like, it's like, this stuff is way too delicious to be, there's definitely some sauces and
Oh, yeah.
deliciousness.
I'd
that-
say it's like about.
It's all healthy deliciousness.
Yeah.
Oh, healthy, yeah, I feel like I've gotten, I feel like I've gotten what I needed from the,
Yeah.
from the
Yeah,
club.
that you.
I've been on it for
Like that it's not-
20 days now. Like, okay, there's a break in the middle because I had some cream and cake, but whatever.
Not with that.
Yeah. I'm done. No, now the punishment begins. That was just the,
Pre-punishment.
that was the
So what
conversation.
was I supposed to switch to?
It's not working.
It's, it's one meal, it's the same meal every day, so the next
Change on
change.
identity level.
Cool.
Yeah,
What's
right.
the benefit of that?
You get to pick on a new deal themselves.
But it's like,
It's gonna be great. Change it.
it's,
Yeah.
Change it, either like a couple of basmati rice with like sirloin and steak, or you like, potato and something like that, so like chicken.
Yeah.
no, I mean,
I
that,
can switch it to that.
I can switch proteins. So it's like, I can, but it's like, there's 7 meals in the day, and it's like, 2 of them, but they're like, 2 of them are shakes. One of them is like.
All the way downstairs.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a
Checks. Work out the arms.
Got another
That's the most important, most important muscle as an Ironman.
Alright.
For when you finish the cross.
There you go. Hobbling over the finish line because you're like.
Why is the 31 behind you? Don't worry about it.
Oh, your last.
Look at these guys.
I finished. All that matters.
Right.
Where's that little? Need of questions.
Oh,
There goes.
you got it? You're gonna get close again, this guy. Maybe some shoplifting.
Real cozy.
Yeah. There are cheap seats up there.
Nosebleeds.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
did you say
absolutely.
That's
So I
good.
have to sit there and I was-
So, I just chilling. Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's there.
Dun, 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 dun.
You got it.
You know, the closest was-
Last for the restaurant. Somebody has asked for a restaurant. I think I said walk by.
That's your inner mom, you know, you gotta make sure this person does that in the spot.
Right?
Yeah. Sometimes the kid, you only ask once and then,
Or you could be like my son and just go wherever you
Yeah.
want in public,
yeah,
which he did for a very long time.
something free about that.
He literally would be like at the park and just like be on the side of the playground and so I'm like.
I mean. Oh, I never thought of it.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Probably,
Big
but-
mystery is all.
What's up, Dan? Come and laugh from the floor in Chilliwack. In a clue room.
New house.
Do you want, a cushion to sit on?
Oh, he's.
Little cushion?
Oh, no, it's okay.
You
So,
sure?
yeah, I see, like, on the floor.
Cause there's some pretty sweet cushions up there.
So Dan, what about recording anything that's,
Oh, yeah.
are you recording things on
Yeah.
the main things?
I mean, what,
You guys
the
want
main speaker, so like this will be recorded, Mark Rose will be.
Come on in.
I was just gonna say that. Girl.
Uh, The maximum set.
So we'll have access to those?
Yeah.
Thank you. I know, recorded is one thing, but something else is another thing.
That's what the.
Good. Yeah.
We could have, had the world rights.
You brought that here.
Oh.
I got some asking a question.
I'm
just kidding.
Got side stitch.
You know, I'll,
Repeat it.
yeah, I'll speak.
Unless you do the phones.
They're still on there. Oh, yeah.
Look.
We're still on.
People ask the questions. the
Oh,
phone,
I
I
didn't
don't
hear
hear.
the calls, I was waiting. on the first, but- Sorry.
Okay, maybe that. It's not.
I know. We just put it up there, I guess. All right,
You got more room on the couch over here, just saying. We get cozy.
I got you right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
Tom's sitting in the bottom. I get the energy over.
All right.
In there, bro.
Dan Bolton has entered the room.
You see over there, guys? Read this
Oh, good.
picture over so you
Yep,
can see
we're all here.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Quick little intro for some context. Maybe you've checked out Dan Bolton since we mentioned that he's gonna be here, but I've been working with Dan for the last 2 years. And so he's my business coach. He's phenomenal. I got to meet him in LA. In large part inspires a lot. In terms of like a model, the way that he runs his business. And he's gone through his own journey of growth scaling to finding a more intuitive path and really building a beautiful business model. Right now, that's about 150K a month, about 90% profit margins, very lean business. And yeah, has just got a beautiful mind, was a former pastor, and I think you guys are really gonna dig his vibe, and he's got tons of gems to drop. So we're just gonna open it up and I'll kind of poke him along, and if we have questions, you guys can ask them, and I think some of you preemptively asked them, so we'll make sure to answer those, but yeah, hopefully this all works.
Can you see us?
He will be able to see all of you, yes. I think, let's see. Huh. Let's see. Let's see. Does this work?
You won't be able to see most.
This is so funny. What's up?
Yo! What's up, Bolton?
I feel like I'm a part of the party. This is fantastic.
You are, man. We're just introducing you, and yeah, you're literally the first. We just opened up our container. It's about
Amazing.
8 o'clock at night here.
Yeah.
Just had a delicious dinner, and after you were gonna go to bed, and we've got a weekend here, but super excited to have you kind of kick us off, and was just sharing my gratitude for you, working with you over the last 2 years, and getting to introduce you to our community and share your wisdom with us.
I
Thank
love it. It's great to be here. Explain the setup to me. What are you looking at right now? Am I on a screen somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
so there's a computer right here, and then there's a TV right here, and you're just on the big screen.
My
man.
fat head is on the big screen. I love it. Let's
Yeah,
go.
it's beautiful. What's your scene right now? Because you're like Bali,
Oh.
but New Zealand, and yeah.
I'm trying to think if I can show you guys. 1 second. Let me just, oh shit. If I disconnect everything, it might break. But basically, I'm looking at the ocean right now. So right, there's an ocean right in front of me. Let me bring out my screen real quick. I see if you guys can see this, okay? But this is where I'm from. So I'm from New Zealand. I live in Bali, but I'm back home where I'm came from. This is where I am right now. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Oh, you've disabled screen sharing. All good. No worries.
No, wait. We gotta. Who knows? You
That's
might
a great
say-
shot of you, dude. All right. Am I good to? Here we go. So this is where I'm from. This is where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like somewhere over here, looking at the beach. There I am right there. No, but it's yeah, it's an amazing spot. If anyone's been to New Zealand, they kind of know what it's like. I don't like living here full time, but visiting is amazing.
Amazing, man. Well, yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Just gonna turn it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just crank it up, dude.
No,
Yeah, it's coming to the TV.
Is it coming to the TV?
The remote?
Good question.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you're getting cranked up.
There we go.
Hey Dan, say some stuff.
What's up? Say something really smart. Meaning of life is. Are we good?
We're good. We're good.
Amazing.
Cool, man. Well, I mean, we kind of highlighted you, and so a lot of people have kind of been creeping on your content and checking you out. But
I got a few DMs. Yeah.
yeah, okay, perfect. Maybe yeah, like in case anybody didn't do that,
Yeah.
maybe give a little bit of your story and a little bit of some context and who
Yeah.
are you and how'd you get here?
I would love to. I'll hit the highlight reel. So I grew up where I just showed you guys on the screen, and I'm clear the accent's probably giving it away. I'm not part of probably the part of the world where you're from. I grew up here in New Zealand. I grew up with a single mother, classic, intense upbringing. We all have varying degrees of trauma and challenge, and mine was no different. Mine just looked more overt. It was just more obvious, like siblings in and out of jail. Even to this day, my brother is the leader of the biggest gang in our city. And so, I massively got into drinking when I was 10, 11, 12, got introduced to weed. And at end of 12 years old, I got introduced to this beautiful girl next door, and she invited me to this place called church. And I was like, what's that? And, but I liked her, and I liked wherever she was going, I wanted to be. And so I went along to this really old school church in New Zealand. And for any of you who kind of are from that part of spirituality, it was a Pentecostal church. So it was like full blowing, hands waving, you get touched on your forehead, you're falling back and all of that. And so I'm 12 and I end up having this experience, and it was really profound. And I was completely devoid of male role models in my life. And so I was surrounded by all these amazing dudes that seemed infinitely older than me, despite them now looking back, they were like 17 and 18 and 19, but they were like these old wise sages to me. And so I went on a really different path really fast. Like I went from literally one weekend, getting stoned at the gang headquarters with my brother on New Year's Eve to going to church and hanging out with this whole crew. And it was like a split in the path. It was like this real clear understanding that my family was on one path and I could either continue to go down that path and I could see the end result of what that would look like and feel like, or I could try this whole other thing. And so it was incredibly lonely. I remember the moment that happened, the week before, my brother had given me the biggest bag of weed I'd ever seen in my life. Like I'm talking like a sack of weed where he was like, here, little brother. And I'm like freaking 12 years old at the time, hiding it in my underwear drawer. And I went and had this experience at this church gathering. And I knew that in order to walk this different path, I had to make different choices. And so I went and took this big sack of weed back to my brother and gave it back. And that was basically the end of our relationship for like a decade or two. Like it was, that distinct line in the sand moment was really strong. It was very much like a before and after, like a sliding doors moment. Fast forward throughout my teenage years, I was involved in youth group in high school, and I was involved in music and all of that kind of thing. And then when I was 16, despite really loving education, I did not love the education system. And so the moment I could drop out of high school, I did. And I got two jobs when I dropped out of high school. The first was I was working at a retail store, like selling shoes and skateboard clothing. And the other thing that I did was I was 16 years old, but I became the youngest sexual education teacher in the country in New Zealand. Like just to show you how low the standards were. It was like, here's a 16-year-old. He has no certifications, no degree, and no experience with the topic of sex. Let's throw him into high schools and see how he does. And so I did that for a couple of years, and I was heavily involved in youth group. And then while all my friends were going to university, I ended up at this church. And long story short, they were looking for a youth pastor. When I say pastor, by the way, everyone with the accent thinks I'm talking about like penne pasta, like I'm talking about like pastor. I was a church pastor. Yeah. So I became a youth pastor for 9 years, and I thought that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. 18 to basically 28. That was me. I was a part of this church. It was very fast growing, grew from like 50 people to 2,000 people by the time I was finished. During that time, I got a lot of opportunities to speak and things like that. And so I developed skills around communication. And during that time, being a youth pastor working with teenagers, I was running the social media. So I was like running the Instagram, trying to convince teenagers why what we were doing was a better alternative than whatever they could do out there on, Friday nights. So I was like social media marketing, I guess you could say. And in 2018, again, I thought I was going to do this forever. My wife and I thought we were going to plant a church in Los Angeles. Like that was where our life was going. We were making about $13 an hour US, working incredibly hard, but it was really meaningful work. And we came into 2018 and we just had this inkling that we were supposed to finish up. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't finish high school. I never got a university degree, anything like that. I was a youth pastor. I felt I had very little skills and I was very unemployable, but I was waiting for this like miraculous job opportunity to kind of come. I was like, all right, God, I'm finishing up. It was like April 16th. I remember it so clearly. I'm like, I'm going to get a job offer. And like, nothing came. And like, I wake up the morning that I'm supposed to like have a job. And I'm like, well, if no one's going to hire me, I think I need to hire myself. And so I didn't even own a laptop. I had to borrow my wife. So I was like, right, I'm going to figure out like an online business. And at that point, there were a couple of really big names in the online space that were teaching this online business model. One guy was called Ty Lopez. Another guy was called Sam Ovens. And so I dove into their programs and started a terrible business model of I did everything for everyone. I was running Facebook ads and building websites and managing social media for a grocery store, but slowly but surely it started to work and all of that. And really over the last 6 years, I've evolved and changed so many different times as an entrepreneur. And I don't know if you can relate to moments of evolution where either it's like by hook or by crook, right? It's like either you choose it or the universe chooses it for you. But there were like moments where it was like everything was going well and had an agency and it was all great and done for you work was really exciting until it wasn't, and everything was burning to the ground and I was burning to the ground with it. And really over the last like 2 years, I've kind of found my sweet spot, I guess you could say. Still figuring out, still far from perfect, but I have a really amazing business that I get to make great money traveling around the world, working with incredible people like Dan. And that's kind of where I find myself today. I'm terrible at most things, including most like life things, like the average life maintenance of what it means to be a human stresses me out. But I found a sweet spot of like offer creation and online marketing and basically like making money online and doing it in the simplest and in least sucky way possible. So there's a lot of I glossed over, but that's kind of the highlight reel.
Can can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
Yeah, because so I first met you or like saw you in Black Belt in Taki Moore's program, and for helping with coach or running ads, and at some point you kind of broke off and did your own thing and created this as you would call it, the bro scaler model.
Mhm.
And, glossed over this piece of like, yeah, and then it all burned down. And I really feel like for a lot of us, trying to build a business that has alignment, that it doesn't burn us out, that that is actually fun, is what we strive for. But then a lot of the information out there is exactly the opposite of that. And so I
Yeah.
don't know, like it's like unpack your own experience discovering and like,
Yeah.
just pack that a bit more.
Give me a read on the room, dude. How deep do we want to go? We're going to go deep? Yeah, perfect. Because like you guys can go and watch a YouTube clip of someone way smarter than me talking about like business strategy stuff. So let me share my theory of how the universe works. It's a theory. I have no idea if it's true. I just found it's true for me. Every religious leader that we look back on with high admiration and respect, whether we call them ascended masters or enlightened beings, talk about there being a way, right? We wrongly interpret a lot of that as the way, as in like, then we build religions around these people. Like Jesus came and said, there is a way. And we're like, yeah, Jesus, let's all follow Jesus. And then like Buddha's saying something similar. And we're like, and then there are people like, yeah, let's follow Buddha. And one of the things that I believe is that there is a way the universe works, and we can see it throughout all of the universe, all of nature. Like I'm right on the beach right now. There is hundreds of square meters, hundreds of yards for you Americans of sand dunes with beautiful birds and different animals around here. And by the way, if you ever want to go somewhere where there are beautiful animals that can't kill you, come to New Zealand. It's a really good deal. Lots of beautiful animals. None of them are going to try and kill you or take your head off. And so when you look out into nature, you see that there is a distinct way everything works. And one of the things that's fascinating is that when you look at anything, if you've ever had pets, it's this incredible thing where there is a level of modeling by the parents, but the babies also have instincts, right? So you ever like look at a kitten becoming a cat, there is a level at which it's modeled. And then there's also a level at which there is instincts within that cat that it already knows what it means to be a cat and it knows how to find its way in the universe. And so I think my theory of how things works is I think there are just two ways that the universe works and two paths that we can take. We can either go along with the aligned design that we have in the universe and we go with the flow of the universe, or we go against the flow of the universe. So what I think this means for all of us is that we have to find what our innate DNA, what our calling, what our the way that we are wired to operate in the world, and we need to own that fully. And so you can have one person who is a plumber and they are living their highest calling because that is what they're wired to do. And then if you get someone like me trying to be a plumber, that's about as stupid as it gets because I'm not wired that way. That is not my calling. That is not my makeup. And so when it comes to business, one of the most challenging things we all have is balancing out these two tensions of insights versus instincts. Insights is when we learn from other people. But the problem is we don't know when to stop learning from other people and start trusting our own instincts and learning from ourselves. So I went about building all of these businesses that everyone was telling me was the best thing ever. And I was getting these 2 Comma Club awards and high fives on the internet and featured in different webinars and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm on the right path because I'm doing what other people tell me that I'm made to do, right? But the problem was none of it felt like it was actually what I was made to do. And what's really funny is like, even take a simple example like this. When I first got into the online space, I literally have a journal entry, May 2018. I said, I do not want to run a 7-figure agency. I just want to create content and coach people. And guess what I did? I went and built a 7-figure agency, right? Because that felt like the easiest thing for me. I was like, content creation, it sounds hard. Coaching, who's going to pay me for coaching? I don't know how that's going to work. And so I went and did the exact opposite of what I felt to do because that's what other people were telling me to do. And so every part of my journey that has been filled with stress and burnout and tension and overwhelm and confusion has been when I'm going against the flow of what I'm designed to do. And every time I've gone with the flow, it's gone phenomenally well. The other thing I'll say on this, Dan, and then you can answer any questions you want because we can go as deep or as shallow as you like, is people talk about money being energy. Has anyone ever heard that before? Okay, so just imagine this for a second. This universal way is like a current. When you step into alignment, you're like stepping into the current. It's like the river. It's like you're standing on the edge of the river and you're looking at it, or you're standing in the river and you're feeling the current against you. And if you fully trust, you can jump into the current and go with the flow of the river. I think the universe works much like that, that when we are out of alignment and we're trying to go against the current or we're just simply observing, it's very hard to attract money. It's very hard to find ourselves in what people call luck or blessing or abundance. But when we step into alignment with the flow of the universe and our unique place in it, money starts to be drawn to us because we've positioned ourselves within the current and the flow of the universe. And so I'm far from having figured this out, but all I can tell you is that every time I get quiet enough within myself and I disconnect from the noise of the outside world and I ask myself, what do I feel like is the right next best move for me? And then I act upon that, things go really well for me. The more that I either don't listen to that or I listen to it and ignore it, the harder everything gets, the suckier everything gets, the more stress that I feel. And so I think that's my current theory of the universe. I think everything is much simpler than we believe it to be. We can call that flow or that way the frequency of love. We can call going against that flow the frequency of fear. However we choose to understand it, I think life is really simple. We're either going with the flow or we're trying to go against the flow. And so we can go wherever you want to go in this conversation, Dan, but that's how I think about the last few years. So practically speaking, it's like I built this agency. I had this huge team. I'm not made to be a manager. I hate all of it. I don't want to, I'm like avoiding meetings with my team. I'm drinking every night. I'm peak stress. And the moments I start to get quiet and get clear and then get courageous enough to create the business and life that I feel called to create, the easier everything gets. It's not like the whole path is easy. It still requires tons of courage, but the easier everything flows.
Amazing. I've got some gems in. Yeah, I've got a couple questions. I'm sure everybody just write the questions down and then we'll at the end. But a couple questions that come to mind, and then maybe you can actually use your current, what you're doing right now with your launch, as an example, because I think it's quite different.
Yeah.
But before maybe talking about that, just for somebody who is maybe feeling like they're going against the grain or living in fear or not in the flow, what are some of the things that you did to find your own wiring, your own instincts? getting quiet perhaps, but like what are some of those things that you've done to connect with your uniqueness? And then is there anything that allowed you to like be courageous enough to live in alignment with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's like 100 things going on in my mind. The first thing I'd say is it's incredibly hard to trust our instincts when we have spent so much time distracting ourselves or messing up our cues that we don't know really why we feel the way we feel anymore. So if we just take a simple example, like I'm deep on a health journey right now, and by that I don't mean a diet. I mean like I'm re-examining literally how I show up on earth and moving and breathing and nervous system regulation and eating. And one of the simplest things to understand, metaphorically speaking, is it's really hard to trust your hunger cues when you're not eating natural food. When you're eating engineered food designed to make you want more of it, high in fat, high in salt, highly processed, it's incredibly hard for me to take someone with that diet and say, trust your hunger instincts, right? Because what the hell does that mean when I've just like got to the end of a bag of Skittles and I should be hungry because I've consumed 1,500, should be full because I've consumed 1,500 calories, but somehow I'm still hungry, right? And so the first thing that we have to do is we have to disconnect from all of the instinct disruptors. One of the biggest culprits is screen time. Like, how on earth are you going to get clear enough and quiet enough within yourself when you're spending 8 hours a day watching other people live their lives? And so I would say on a practical standpoint, like those are really important things to examine because those are the most practical things that we have to decrease the inputs. It sounds funny because we think that inputs is naturally a good thing, especially when we think about business coaching and content and I'm listening to an audiobook and da-da-da. But it is counterproductive when you were trying to listen to one voice above all else, which is the voice of intuition or the voice of the higher self. It's very hard to distinguish what that voice sounds like and feels like when you're inundated with all of these other inputs. So things like meditation is incredibly underrated to just get quiet and get clear. Personally speaking, plant medicine journeys have been huge for me. And I know you guys are doing some kind of a journey over the next couple of days.
Well, they don't know that yet, but yes, they are. No.
Yeah. And if you look under your seats, there is a cup of ayahuasca right now. Yeah. So, plant medicine journeys have been really helpful for me. It's obviously a very personal journey. I would never point blank just tell someone to do it. Only for me, it's been incredibly, incredibly powerful. Breath work, like somatic breath work, has been huge. It's really like, if we just simplify it, it's really the journey from here to here. And this is true of the masculine and the feminine. More so than ever, we have women living in their masculine and men living in their feminine, but neither are the divine versions of both. Like, you know, it's like women feeling out of this complete discomfort where they're like told to not trust how they feel because how they feel doesn't allow them to keep a 9-to-5 job really, really well, right? Like you've got your moon cycles to contend with, but it's like, well, fuck that. Let's just like throw them in an office for 40 hours a week. And then just like, let's treat every single day and every single week exactly the same, despite the fact that that is not how you feel. Right. And then we have men who are just completely scared to be men. And so it's really this mixed version of we're all living up here to some degree. And the journey that we all have to go on is to go from here, to live out of the heart. It's not to say we throw our intellect and we throw logic out completely. It's that we put it in its rightful place, which is that it is always supposed to be inferior to what we intuitively believe is the right next move for us. It doesn't mean we ignore all of the evidence we see before us. It's that sometimes we act in spite of it. That's what courage is. Courage is that ability to go, this seems like batshit crazy. I'm scared out of my mind, but I am required to do this because if I don't do this, I feel like I'm betraying my highest ideals. And so if you guys haven't read this book, there's a book called Power versus Force that I highly recommend. And there in that is this idea of the levels of consciousness. And it's a fascinating concept. Highly recommend diving into it. It's been one of the biggest unlocks for me mentally and emotionally over the last 2 years. But in that, the author says that the absolute most important line in all of that chart is when people start living from courage. Because the majority of the population on earth lives in fear. And fear looks different to different people: shame, guilt, anger, desire. But when you start to live from courage, you live from the place that we were always designed to live from, right? Different religions might call it faith or trust, but it's that ability to transcend our senses and to listen to our higher selves leading us into the next seasons of our life. And so when we're living in our head, we will constantly be living below our potential, because you will only ever make the next business move based on what you can see. But the problem is, what you can see is only a small part of the equation, right? Your brain, I want you to think about this for a second. Your brain is meant to perceive what's going on. It doesn't know what's going to happen. I want you to think about this for a second. Your physical brain cannot comprehend what your future contains, but your higher self can. Your intuition can. And so the more that you live out of your brain, all you're doing is trying to interpret the data in front of you and then trying to make sense of it. But we are all called to live lives that make no sense, right? If you are living a life that makes pure logical sense, you are living far below your potential. Like when I look at I'll speak really frankly for a second. So I'm in New Zealand. I'm a high school dropout. I was a youth pastor 5 minutes ago. And I was looking the other day at a chart that showed the top 10 salaries of the CEOs of New Zealand. If I was a CEO of a company here in New Zealand, I would be on that top 10 list as a high school dropout, 6 years in a business, working 12 to 15 hours a week. That makes no sense. And so I didn't get to the life that makes no sense by trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
It's all been this huge journey of trust. And so one of the best piece of advice I could ever give you is develop the right relationship with Dan and people like him. The best gift you can give yourself is to put mentorship in the right category. Mentors are not supposed to be responsible for you. They're not supposed to just tell you what to do. They're there to guide you. And so the best thing you could do is lean into these next few days, take everything that comes at you, and then ask yourself, but what do I feel like I should do? Because if you're constantly waiting for other people to tell you your next move, you will never step into the calling and the identity and the life and the business that you were created for. Because other people do not know your right next move. Only you know that. So I could go anywhere, but I'll keep handing it back. We'll play like paddle tennis.
Well, I love it, man, because you're, I mean, sometimes, because like I'll come to you and be like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm like looking for you to tell me, and you're like, well, how do you feel? Well, like, well, just tell me. You're like, oh, like, what's the courageous move? So I love that reflection and invitation. Oh man, you guys getting some? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, should we maybe open it up, some questions? You good with taking a few from the team? How are we doing for time?
Would love to. Just make sure everyone speaks up because it is a little bit far back.
Okay. Oh, sorry, one more thing, and then we'll just wide open QA and maybe like 15-20 minutes. But can you just talk about your launch right now and just like
Oh yeah, for sure.
second part, and then we'll do Q&A and wrap it
What
up.
specifically would you like me to share?
Just like in the same vein of like, how this is, what's that?
Like, why is he doing it? Right? It's like, yeah.
Why are you doing it? And like, but then also like this, like how, or what's different about the way that you're doing this?
Yeah, so I'll give you my most honest reflections. I'm launching this. So for anyone who doesn't know, so I have a $20,000 a year community. Then I sell higher tiers of access to me beyond that. And then outside of that, I sell cheap products every now and then, $100, $200, workshops and things like that. And I don't have a huge audience by any means, but it feels like a couple of thousand strong, let's say, in terms of engaged people. And there's a lot of people in there that I really care about that can't afford to work with me, that aren't the right fit for the level of offerings I currently have. And so about 4 or 5 months ago, I'd just be sitting at my computer. And this is going to sound like the bullshit like answer that you want other people to hear, but I'm just telling you exactly how it happened. My business like feels perfect right now. Like I'm like, don't mess with it. Like, I don't want to mess with it. It's almost like everything feels perfect. And if I make the wrong move, it could break. And that's obviously a level of fear that I have to deal with. And I just would be sitting at my computer and I would just start crying, like thinking about all the people that are still stuck in jobs that they hate and wondering if there was a way that I could help those people. And so I came up with this thing called Modern Autonomy. That's like this membership. It's $297 a month. And I've gone about it in ways that I'm proud of and ways that I'm not proud of. Firstly, I'm really certain that I'm supposed to launch it. I added shitloads of bells and whistles because I still don't really know what it takes to get someone from 0 to 1. Like it's been so long since I've worked with complete beginners. Like I'm talking about not even entrepreneurs, like people that are in jobs that I'm like, I don't know if I can just give them a little bit of me and a great community and content. So I've thrown kind of everything in the kitchen sink at it, where we've got support calls every week, like 5 support calls a week, one-to-one coaching, content, So I framed it as like, it's an 8-week experiment. It might suck. It might be awesome, but jump in. And so far we've had basically in the last 30 hours, I think 2 people join every hour. And so we've got 60 something, 70 something people. It's 5 more days of the launch. Who knows where it gets to? I'm unattached to the number. One of the things that I think would be helpful for everyone here is I imagine all of you to whatever degree want to go from that feeling of being ignored in your marketing to being in demand. Does that resonate with anyone? Right. Yeah. I feel it's a very rhetorical question. It's like one of those ones that like the youth pastor asked the teenagers to get the, a response, and, ex-youth pastor here. So old habits die hard. So one of the most powerful ways to do that is to stop needing clients. And there are 2 ways to do that. Have so many clients you don't need anymore, or 2, stop being attached to people saying yes to working with you. And one of the most powerful things that you can do is become energetically attractive through your marketing and sales. So you're probably working with Dan because you think that your business needs more leads, or it needs a funnel, or it needs ads or whatever. And all of that might be true. The most powerful way to attract clients is to become energetically attractive, right? So if you just imagine the worst case scenario for a second, you are living out of stress, you're living out of scarcity, you're constantly overwhelmed, you're constantly confused, and then you're trying to sell people into your program. Number one, people are really smart and they can pick up on energy even through text. Like, let's not get into the science of it, the quantum physics, but people can sense your energy, right? Hopefully you can sense my energy. Literally, you're on the other side of the world right now, but here we are exchanging energy. And so the most powerful thing you could do is do the deep inner work to become energetically attractive, like joyful, peaceful, calm, confident, no longer desperately needing clients. Because when you come across through a launch, through a sales call, in the DMs, through your content, as someone who desperately needs the person on the other side to like you, to give you money, whatever, for you to feel better about yourself, that is felt. And the problem is the only people you're going to attract in that place are people who are energetically aligned with that state. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So if you're sick of working with dropkick clients who are constantly stressed out and constantly overwhelmed and constantly confused, the first thing you have to do is upgrade yourself energetically so that your vibe attracts a better tribe. Does that make sense? Right? Rule number 1, very, very important. But practically speaking, one of the most powerful things you can do in all of your marketing and sales is what I call the anti-sell, right? The anti-sell. And here's it's very simple. It's not a crazy concept. It's just simply this. Whenever you are marketing, you should be actively trying to think not only who is this for, but who is this not for? Yeah. So let's just imagine for a second, you have all of the details of your offer written down. Alongside this is for you if you want this awesome outcome, we will give you this, you should actively try and disqualify people. This is not for you if, X, Y, Z. And so practically speaking, some of the ways that I do that is I always say, like, the first thing I do is if you cannot financially afford this, this is not for you. Like, I'm not saying people can't use a credit card if they feel like it's aligned and whatever else, but if you are about to be stressed by the investment you're making in me, do not make this investment. So that's an example of the anti-sell. So now people feel less pressure, they feel less manipulated, they feel more comfortable in your presence. But the next layer is when you can align with people on values. And this is the really big key that I want to communicate to you guys, is that your marketing takes on a whole new life when you stop thinking about problems and solutions, right? Just going like, I help, X, Y, Z get result through unique mechanism. What? And then you just accept anyone that fits that description with a heartbeat and a credit card. The next layer you should be thinking about is the values. And so one of the metaphors I use all the time with Americans, especially, by the way, what's the split of American, Canadian, like, and otherwise? Who's American? Cool. Okay. Everyone will be able to relate to this. Imagine you're a Democrat, right? And then you go ahead and you get amazing at marketing and sales. And now all of a sudden, unbeknownst to you, you've filled up your coaching program with a bunch of Republicans. Well, you might not care, but most of the American population I know would go, whoa, wait a minute, right? Misalignment. Now, they might be the perfect clients when it comes to being qualified and having the problems that, they want your solutions. But when you understand that layer of values, you understand that that is actually the secret to attracting dream clients and keeping them over the long term, is what are the values I'm looking to attract? So the anti-sell is also speaking to the values you will not entertain. So the way that this launch for me has felt really easy, I think I've added, $20,000 a month in recurring revenue in the last 36 hours, and it's all felt really easy, is I'm just telling people who it's for, and I'm being very clear on who it's not for. If you can't afford it, this isn't for you. If you're looking for a guarantee of any kind of results, this isn't for you. If you're looking for me to wave a magic wand like a magician and grow your business without you working, this isn't for you, right? If you're looking for someone to be responsible for your results, this isn't for you. And I go on and on. And so one of the things that I think you could all think about more is being polarizing so that the wrong people are repelled and the right people are attracted. And this is both around qualifications, right? If you're trying to work with a sophisticated level of person, stop talking to unsophisticated problems, right? But energetically and values-wise, get clear on who you are trying to attract. I am unwilling to allow highly stressed people in my close proximity. Under no circumstances will I closely work with someone who's living in a state of stress. There is my free content. I hope it blesses your little heart, but I am not going to let your stress become my life. And so you have to create standards so that through all of your content, people can feel, and the best part is the dream clients that you want to attract respect it like hell. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for a mentor, for a coach, for a guide with standards. And so the last thing I'll say on this, Dan, is I remember so clearly in 2021, we had this huge influx of clients. We were like getting a client a day for like 60 something days. And it was backed by a guarantee. And we had all the bells and whistles. And it was like, if you don't get the results, we'll work with you for free, da, da, da. And the line in the sand moment for me was explicitly saying, there is no guarantee. So literally in my offer doc, because I don't sell vehicles, in my offer doc, it says like, there is no guarantee for any reason whatsoever. There's no cancellation, no refunds, no pausing, blah, blah, blah. And then that would be the same thing that people would see on the payment form. No guarantees, no pausing, no cancellation, no refunds. The people I was trying to repel go, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, I don't know about that. But what if I don't like it after a week? It's like, not for you. All good, not for you. The people I want to attract, that would send me the screenshot, send it back to me and go, I love that. That's amazing. Can you show me how to do that in my business? I'll be like, absolutely. And that's really the big key that I'm like being reminded of during this launch, is being so deeply clear about who your people are. Forget the idea that your job is to serve anyone and everyone in every state they are in right now. The best thing you could do is get crystal clear on the standards you want to set for yourself and the people that you want to work with, both on a qualifications level, where do they need to be in their life or their business for you to work with them, and also on an energetic values level. What type of humans do I want to attract? What worldview do I want them to have? And what state do I want them to find me in? So I could keep riffing on this, but I'll hand back over to you.
Bro,
That's so good. So like, thank you. Okay, we'll open up for a few Q&A and
Yeah.
uh,
I'm good on time, by the way. So you just do whatever you need to do.
okay, yeah, I feel like we probably just melted some minds and got some questions. Do we have some questions?
Well, my question was, how do you step into the stream? I've been sitting on the sidelines, but it was like by feeling, not doing, and you just answered it. So thank you for catching my question.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say you've kind of validated what I've been feeling for so long. And everything's been thrown at me saying, no, you got to do it this way. This is how the system works. This is how it is. And I would have the same result. When I tried harder to do it like everybody else, nothing flowed, like nothing would flow. And then I jump back into my intuitive wisdom and guidance, find that inner peace and that quiet, because that's where the heart speaks, is from the stillness.
Mhm.
And every time it made sense when it wasn't supposed to. So thanks for just, yeah.
The thing I'll just quickly add on that is you need to get comfortable. We all need to get comfortable with defying logic. So one of the best things about learning marketing and sales is learning the rules well enough to know when you're breaking them and then being okay with breaking them. Like, I'll give you an example. I've posted 6 times on Facebook today. Like, I know that's not optimal for anything, but I don't care. And so when you can get to the point where you go, I understand this isn't optimal, but I want to do it anyway because it feels good to me, that's when you know you're experiencing true freedom. True freedom is not pretending that something doesn't work or that something isn't true. It's that regardless of whether or not that's the best way to do it, I'm choosing to do it my way because that's the thing that's most exciting to me.
So
By the way, I don't even know who's talking and they're like out of the camera, but hello.
It's Joey.
What's up?
There you go.
There we go. Looking good, beautiful.
Did you have anything to add to that about how to step into the stream by feeling but not doing?
One of the things I give myself a lot of permission to do is to do experiments. There's 2 words that live in our world, in my client world, experiments and bonuses, right? And so I'll give you an example. So like yesterday I was taking a call and it was at 7 p.m. my time, New Zealand. It's for the community. It's normally 3 p.m. when I'm in Bali. And it's listed as bonus call because I started the community last year and then there were a bunch of people who are in Europe and Australia and they're like, none of these times work for us because time zones freaking suck. And so I was like, right, I'm going to start a bonus call and I'm doing it for a few weeks. And if no one comes and it sucks, I'm going to kill it. And if it's awesome, I'm going to keep it going. And last night I was just reminded that almost a year later, it's still called bonus call because I guess in my mind I've been like, well, I can pull out of it if I don't want to do it. Like, but running experiments and being a scientist in life, I think is a really underrated way to find that sense of flow. I think removing the judgment, because part of the judgment we can have on ourselves is when we've acted on our gut feel and it wasn't right. What I'm not laying out for you is this bulletproof idea that if you just meditate, you'll know every answer in the universe always. That's not what I'm saying. I still create missteps all the time. I'll create missteps as significant as putting all of my family on a plane, flying to a country and going, oops, wrong country. Right? Like I do that plenty of times. And maybe I can look back with hindsight and go, well, maybe I didn't listen clear enough, or maybe whatever it might be. But one of the things that you're looking for is not just a fleeting feeling, but an enduring feeling. And so flow is not just your ability to sit down and go, I should do this, therefore you pivot your whole business. It's running experiments and like trying things out and then seeing if the feeling endures. And so that's when you know, it's like you look at kids, and I talk to my 7-year-old son all the time, and I just love badgering him about what he wants to do with his life. And within the last couple of years, like the numbers, the thing has changed like 10 times. Like he wants to like be a DJ, be a YouTuber, be a hairdresser, fly planes, play piano. And so I think our instincts can sometimes feel like that because I think it's normal to want something. I mean, all you need to do to know that you can't always trust your instincts is just look at relationships, right? Like sometimes you get swept up in like a new relationship. You're like, oh my gosh, this person's the one, they're amazing. And you're picking out wedding dresses and, you know, venues and things like that. And then it progresses and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I missed all the red flags. And it's not that you were wrong. It's that you just can't judge a moment by a feeling. You're looking for the enduring feeling. And so one of the things that I think I always come back to is this idea that action precedes clarity. And so sometimes the clarity we're looking for is on the other side of just taking more action and just trying things and giving things a go and experimenting with things. And so, for example, like some of you were like, I wonder if I want to start a podcast or I want to start a new offer. I want to do a low ticket offer. I want to maybe even change careers. I don't think the answer is meditate, have that feeling, burn everything to the ground and go for it. It's starting to act and then seeing what enduring feelings come up, feelings that last more than a moment, more than a day, more than a week. And the more that those enduring feelings come up, you start to collect data on how you're wired and kind of what your calling is. And so the more that you can do that, the easier it becomes. And the last note I have on this is I was talking to a mentor the other day and I was like, because we're trying to figure out where we want to live in the world. Like Bali's amazing, but it's not home full-time forever. New Zealand, like I've healed a lot of my relationship with New Zealand and now I'm here. There's like no negativity, but there's just no energy. It's just real flat and quite boring. And so I'm trying to figure out where I want to go in the world. And I was talking to this mentor and I was like, bro, so like, what about this place? Like, what do you think about this place or this country? And I'm like looking at El Salvador because they've got Bitcoin and things like that. And he's like, all right, I want you to write this down. It's really complicated, really intense. Are you ready? I was like, sure. And he's like, the secret is you go somewhere and then you see how you feel and you see if you like it. And I was like, okay. And so, you know, like I'm going on trips this year for the sole thing of like feet on the soil. How do I feel? And so the thing that I believe about God, the universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it, is that it's a benevolent universe. It is for us. And so the more we are actively trying to find our flow, the more synchronicities will increase, the more you will start to see new opportunities and new pathways and new wirings in your brain and connections will start to make. And so the more that you just take action on that path of trying to find your sense of flow, the more you're going to find that sense of flow.
You did have some more to say about that.
Yeah.
All right. Any other question? You guys getting some gems? Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Well, Mr. Bolton. Any other questions before we wrap this one up? You good?
I have one question.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious though, like the choice for pricing structures, like to go from $20,000 a year to only $297 a month, like it's just such a big gap. So I'm kind of curious of like what inspired that for you and like how you came to that decision.
So Dan and I talk about this often. There is a point where money is really uninteresting and it's just neutral. Like it's a tool, it's an amazing tool, but it's like not a driver for me at all. So the thing that didn't occur to me with 297 is how much money I can make. Like if I charge more, will I make more? If I charge like that wasn't really a part of it. It was really trying to figure out what level of service I could provide without going in the red, right? And going, wow, I'm feeling resentful towards these clients. And also creating a standard that I'm not trying to make it $7 a month or $30 a month. I want to create a real standard of like the kind of caliber of people I want to attract. But that's also like why it's a 8-week trial is I'm trying to make this accessible to as many people as possible. I want to help as many people as possible as I can through this. And maybe it's the wrong price, but I'm really okay with like learning and failing and like stacking lessons. The thing that I'll say though, is all of this is well and good because I have recurring revenue, profit clients, right? So knowing the season you're in is really important. You know, I think like low ticket, for example, I mean, Dan and I talk about this a lot. I think low ticket is just a really terrible idea for most people unless they have an audience or they have a high ticket offer that covers all their expenses, gives them profit. And then low ticket is kind of for fun / turning customers into clients. I'm 6 years into the journey, and $8 million later, I'm now launching a lower ticket community, and I still don't know if it's the right thing for me. So I'm kind of just trialing it and seeing how it goes. Does that answer your question, or was there like anything more specific?
No, that answers the question, yeah. Thank you.
Cool, you're welcome. By the way, where are you guys in the world?
We are in Chilliwack, BC.
Canada.
Canada, British
I
Columbia.
thought you were in Mexico. That's so funny. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're in Canada. Our next retreat's in Mexico, but this is the first one, and actually,
Amazing.
When I came back from Peru directly to LA and had the first in person with you,
Yeah.
in our community, that was like a big like inspiration. I was like, oh my God, real people. Like I get to hug mentors and like hang out with people, and really like a big inspiration for this event happening. And yeah, just really grateful for you, man. You've been a huge just like light for me. Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. It was so cool hanging out in LA. And I think one of the things that is I've been thinking about today is that like we all so desperately need a tribe. And so either find one or create one. And I haven't been able to find one. So I've just created one. And I'm so grateful for the people in it. And so it's an honor, and I'm so excited for you guys to experience the next few days. I know it's going to be incredible. For those of you that are still a bit unsure on Dan, I know he's got, there's a bit of roughness on the outside, like, does this guy hate me? No, I'm just kidding. He's the best. And so lean in to everything that him and Alex and the team have prepared for you guys over the next few days. Be sponges, soak it all up, and just really lean into a life-changing experience over the next few days.
Beautiful, man. Love you so much. Appreciate
One last time, Dan. Where did you say you were?
Chilliwack, BC. Canada.
Yeah. So there's a guy in the community that's in Chilliwack, or maybe let me check in. But he's a videographer, and he could come and shoot some videos for you if you wanted to. Like if you wanted to. There was just a thought, because he's a videographer. He's Kyler Miles, the content guy.
Kyler, what? He's in Chilliwack?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really small, right?
Yeah, it's really small.
Yeah, that's where I'm pretty sure he lives. I'll send him a message. I'll send a message and see if there's like a connection that could be made.
Good, that's awesome. Amazing, dude.
Killer. I'll send you guys so much love. I hope the next few days are incredible. And it was a real honor to kind of kick things off here for you guys.
Thank you.
See you guys. Bye. Yo.